All right, guys and gals, it's Austin here. Just feel like I wanted to do a short video kind of talking about the recent news of Cerrone versus Conor. Just got a couple thoughts here I want to kind of go over and kind of give a little bit of a prediction and, I don't know, an analysis of how the fight might play out and talk about tools for each fighter that they need to utilize to win. So, first off, though, want to get some things up in the air. Conor is not ducking anybody. Let's get that straight. He's not ducking Justin Gaethje. He's not ducking Jorge Masvidal. If anything, he's setting up for future fights with these people. Yeah, he's going up to 170, so it looks more like Jorge Masvidal. But Conor's a lot different than every other fighter. And a big part of that is the business aspect. Because it doesn't matter who Conor fights, what weight class he fights. If he comes off of an impressive performance, gets a win, he can fight just about anybody through 145 to 170. Because that's the star that Conor McGregor is. Call it unfair, call it whatever. But that's just the way the fight game is right now. And also, Donald Cerrone is not some washed-up has-been like so many people try to play him out to be. He's still a top 10 fighter in either welterweight or lightweight. I mean, he's got the tools still. He's not old. Yeah, he's been in a bunch of fights. But people seem to forget that he is 2-2 this year. He started off the year with a bang, destroying Alexander Hernandez. I mean, just demolishing him. Wasn't even close. And Hernandez had a lot of hype going into that fight. People forget. And Cerrone, put a stop to that hype train real quick. Then he had a good fight with Al Iaquinta and beat the brakes kind of off Al Iaquinta later on in the fight. So, I mean, that just goes to show right there that Donald Cerrone is still a top talent. People just want to look at the recent fights. Tony Ferguson, which was a doctor stoppage. Like, he was starting to look bad there at the end. Tony was getting the better of him, but still, doctor stoppage. And then his last fight was kind of the most unsettling one for Donald Cerrone, was the Justin Gaethje knockout. And we'll get more into that later. But I just want to get those two out up in the air. I don't think Conor's ducking anyone. If anything, he's seeming more motivated by doing things this way. And I don't think Donald Cerrone is some washed-up has-been like so many people are trying to play it out to be. And I think the reason for that is that people either are far too biased towards Conor and think Conor's just going to destroy Donald Cerrone, and I don't think that's going to happen. But also I think some people are just really big haters of Conor McGregor, and they want to downplay Donald Cerrone so that way in case Cerrone does upset Conor, they can go back on the fact that they said, he got beat by some washed-up, has-been past his prime fighter or something. Or even if the fight's close, people are going to, hate on it. But that just comes with the fight game, I guess. But some thoughts here. Really interesting it's at 170, but not super surprising. Because, Conor had both of his fights with Nate Diaz at 170. And it's just who Conor is. He can fight anybody, anytime. Realistically. And him and Cerrone have some history at 170, but I do think that 170 favors Cerrone more. Just because the fact that Conor's only fought there twice and both times was against Nate Diaz. He's never faced any kind of other fighter. And Cerrone's fought, quite a bit at 170. He's looked really impressive, and he's also suffered some pretty bad defeats at 170. But I do think it favors Donald Cerrone. I think this fight, though, proves that Conor is motivated and taking things kind of serious. Now, whether he shows up and looks as good as he once did, that's up to how well he performs in his fight camp and how serious he takes the training. But taking this fight against Donald Cerrone does prove that he wants to do a tune-up fight. And I don't mean tune-up as like a disrespect to Donald Cerrone, but Donald Cerrone is not as tough as a fight as it would have been if he fought Justin Gaethje or try to get a rematch with Habib, which that was far out of the picture. or trying to fight Jorge Masvidal. I think Donald Cerrone is the easier out of those fights, but it's still a tough fight. Donald Cerrone is no slouch. But another reason I think it proves that Conor is kind of motivated and taking things serious is that he didn't take those fights with Gaethje or Masvidal or Khabib or whatever it may have been, because all three of those names would have been a bigger potential fight than Donald Cerrone. It would have made more money, especially the Masvidal and Khabib fight. But the Cerrone fight, they have history there, but he's facing a guy that's coming off of 2 losses. If he faced Justin Gaethje's kind of riding some momentum here, and Justin Gaethje's been really talking smack about Conor. So that'd been, kind of some bad blood there. And then obviously the Masvidal stuff, we all know about that. About how Masvidal is saying that, Dana said that he's too much man for Conor and stuff like that. We all know how that's been. So I think Conor taking the least profile fight proves that he's in this to try to get back in the game, to try to prove that, hey, guys, I'm still here. I'm not going away. I want to prove that I can still hang in this. Conor knows himself better than anybody. So if this is what he thinks is the best thing to do, it probably is the best thing to do. Not only for himself, but for his career, for his family, whatever that may be, and especially if he wants to, prolong his career fight game and prove that he belongs towards the top. Now, to get into the aspect of the fight and how I think it plays out. It's orthodox versus southpaw. Donald Cerrone is taller by 3 inches. Conor McGregor is about 5'9", 5'10". Cerrone's about 6 foot. Reach is pretty much identical. Cerrone's 73 inches. Conor 74 inches. But Cerrone doesn't really utilize his reach that much. He tends to stand straight up, pretty narrow, flat-footed, but that's due to his kicks he likes to throw, his elbows, all that stuff he likes to set up. But I think this fight will play out similar to how Conor beat Alvarez. I think Cerrone will make it a little bit more of a tougher fight than Alvarez did. But I think Cerrone just stands too flat-footed. And if you notice in the fight with Cerrone against Gaethje, Gaethje countered. He countered the straight right, popped him, with it. And I think Cerrone was in the middle of switching stances at the moment, and Conor can read that stuff easy. So I think I see that going the same way, kind of how Gaethje finished Cerrone. I think Conor will do the same thing. Because Conor's better at countering and timing movements and all that better than Justin Gaethje. So I'm starting to tend towards a third round, maybe late second round TKO win for Conor. But I don't think it's going to be, one-sided. I think Cerrone will have his moments. He'll pop Conor a couple times. He'll land a couple good leg kicks, a couple good body shots. He'll probably pressure Conor a little bit. But what hurts Cerrone in this fight is the fact that Cerrone does not pressure like the guys that have beat Conor pressure. Cerrone doesn't pressure like Nate Diaz. That's why Cerrone lost to Nate Diaz, because of the pressure. Khabib, obviously. Nobody pressures like Khabib Nurmagomedov. So that hurts Cerrone quite a bit. But some tools for Cerrone to have success in this fight, I think, is kicks. And he can't just, throw straight head kicks. He's got to set them up. He's got to throw right straight, kick to the body, kick to the leg, switch kick to the leg, and then go up high. He can't just go straight for the head kick. He has to set him up. He has to keep Conor second-guessing. But if Cerrone focuses on power and just tries to throw his right straight like he always does quite a bit, that's going to spell doom for him. Because Conor is going to read that right straight coming like nobody's business. And he'll counter him, many times until he gets the knockout. So for this fight, Cerrone has to focus on quantity over quality. No super big power shots, just pop shot him, kind of like Nate Diaz. Just set up the right straight, throw the switch kick to the leg, go up high, go to the body, and stay in Conor's face. He has to pressure. And not only does he doesn't have to just throw kicks. He can throw right straights and then go into the takedown. Donald Cerrone has good wrestling. better than probably Eddie Alvarez. And Eddie Alvarez obviously didn't have much success against Conor. But Cerrone in his last fight took down Tony Ferguson. He's took down Robbie Lawler before. He's took down some pretty good grapplers, pretty good wrestlers. And he's took them down and held them there. So, obviously we know Conor doesn't have the greatest takedown defense. He has stellar defense. It's solid. But Cerrone can take Conor down. And if his fight goes to the ground, Conor McGregor is in trouble. Cerrone is obviously the better mixed martial artist when it comes to the ground, better at jiu-jitsu. But the way I see the fight playing out is first round, they stand up for a little while. Cerrone starts throwing the right strike a couple times, throws a couple leg kicks, body kicks, and Conor just counters. And eventually Conor will start hurting Cerrone, and I think Cerrone's finally going to shoot for a takedown. Probably get stuffed. He might get one towards the late side of the round, probably last minute or so. And he'll probably get Conor close to a choke or something, but I think Conor will survive. Second round, he'll come out. I think Cerrone's going to I think Conor's going to start telegraphing a lot of what Cerrone's throwing towards him. And I think, Conor's going to start hitting him at will and start landing the counters pretty significantly. And like I said, late second round TKO or a third round TKO. But another aspect of this fight is that Cerrone is better at the clinch. We saw Nate Diaz get Conor in the clinch a couple times, and Nate Diaz had relative success at it. So, Cerrone's pretty good in the clinch. He's got good Muay Thai. He can throw knees. He can throw elbows. So that does favor him. He's got to make this a nitty-gritty, dirty fight in order to have success with Conor. He can't just stand there. He can't stand there and just try to have a striking fight with Conor, because that's the only way Conor wins this fight, in my book, is that if it's just a striking contest. But if Cerrone focuses on, quantity combos, mixing in some wrestling, some leg kicks, because no one's really kicked Conor's legs quite a bit, and Conor has that big, wide stance that he tends to use quite a bit. And no one's ever really kicked Conor's legs quite a bit. Eddie did a little bit, but we don't know how that fight went. But Cerrone is probably, outside of Jose Aldo, the best kicker Conor has ever fought. And Jose didn't even get to show that off, But, so this fight's pretty interesting. Cerrone is probably the most well-rounded fighter Conor has ever faced. But I do think that Conor's cardio will be decent for this fight. Especially because he's coming off of such a long layoff. It'll be about 15, 16 months since he last fought against Khabib. So he won't have to cut as much weight. So he'll be able to focus on, that cardio, just like he did for the Nate Diaz second fight. But if this fight goes past third round, it helps Cerrone. But I still think that Conor wins this fight. Third round TKO. 65% Conor, 35% Cerrone is the chances I'm giving. But that's just some thoughts I have for the fight between Conor and Cerrone. Y'all stay tuned for some more content. I'm going to start doing this more often. Trying to, just hype big profile fights, try to talk about them, some fights that are significant to me. And thank y'all for the support. Be sure to like and subscribe. Thanks for watching.